Welcome to Breaking Initiative. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, get the subscribe thing going. That'd be great. Also, we are on Apple Podcast. We are on Spotify. Yeah. My name's Brett.
And I'm Rob. This is a show where we break down our own tips and tricks to help you with your own tabletop games. We provide you with some of the spiciest news. I don't have my own script, but we're just going to wing it anyway. I have it written down somewhere, but it's okay. We're just going to go with it, man.
You act like there was always a script. There was never a script.
I had a little blurb I wrote down before somewhere. No, we'll just go right into it. Like us and subscribe us and ring a bell or something, if that's available on your platform of choice.
Or rate us. Yeah. I think there's rating on Apple Podcast. Anyways, all right. So guys, today we are talking about magic items. Rob, you probably have something about that you want to talk about, right?
You're saying this as if we're going in with just nothing prepared. No. Yes.
No, I have a piece of paper prepared. I have a
He's
thing.
Putting papers. We have So there's a lot to. This is just such a massive subject to just say. Let's just talk about magic items and make it 20 minutes or less. Let's see how close we stick to that one.
Okay, I'll start. All right, what I have on my handy dandy piece of paper is a few common tables of when they should even be passed out.
Oh, right. Because there's the original fifth. We're talking about 5th edition, by the way. Anybody who's coming into this blind at our channel. Right now, we're talking about 5th edition. I might talk about some of the older stuff and how they used to do it, but comparing it to 5th edition, and other systems and things. Yes. So before we get into different tables and stuff, that's a good point. We need to address what's the point of magic items. Let's start super ridiculously basic. What are magic items? They're not in the player's handbook, Brett. So for any players watching, they're like...
There's something that has some sort of arcane nature about them.
Right.
Whether it is a piece of plastic that does something, or, it's a giant flaming sword.
Right. That's the aesthetic of it.
I don't know if there's plastic in this game.
Mechanically,
I don't think there's actually plastic.
It's an excuse
piece of metal.
For a DM to just make a carrot on a stick to lead the adventurers to the direction of where they want them to go.
Sometimes.
So
that's always good.
That's how I use them.
In our camp, in our campaign, it winds up being true, but. Not always, sometimes, I'm starting to enjoy magic items that aren't the legendary, the amazing. I'm like, how this, I don't know, dust of good tasting, how a character uses that. And, you guys know what I'm referencing, whatever the heck that was, the sprinkle of that makes things taste good. It's just good. I mean, it creates solid role play when it's not your, I'm not going to say common, but like your, I got a +1 sword. Beep, got it, because I leveled up, But, you get your, I don't know, Rob, what are some other miscellaneous magic
So all
items?
the common magic items, really, almost every single one of them will not help you out in combat more than not having it and instead having a mundane item. But it makes it cooler, more interesting.
That's kind of the rule.
Some of them will help you out a little bit, but they're usually like one-off things. Like it might cast an illusion and then disappear, or it'll heal you some hit points or let you climb up a wall and then it disappears. Similar to like a scroll, usually they're in the form of potions when it's like that. But if it's a weapon,
or in the form of a cupcake, I believe, which was that invisibility cupcake.
Oh, right. Well, okay.
If
we were to compare that invisibility, and this is a great idea for balance for making. If you're thinking about making some custom magic items or something like that, like Brett's referencing something from our campaign, our solo campaign that we're running on this channel. You can check out. Maybe I'll put a link in the description or something, where my character has found a cupcake that in Wild Beyond the Witchlight is where we're running the solo thing.
You won.
Yeah. Well,
you won this guy, and it came out. You won, or actually,
I lost miserably, but
you lost miserably.
Yes, my companion won.
But you have it as like you two as a party to, hey, you have a cupcake of invisibility to where you can be invisible for I think it's like 1 minute or something like that.
And the idea of custom,
but it's a one-time use.
Yes, one-time use, which screams an alternative to a potion. So what that is really just a reflavored potion, if I'm understanding the item correctly, because I haven't even really fully used it yet. So that would be on par with an invisibility potion. I know that that's not a common magic item. So when you're ever taking something, potions are a fun one to do because you can always do food. I've done it before.
Right.
Like some sort of bakery or something that sells like specialty, super expensive, like 50 gold pieces for like some sort of like little crepe or something, and then they eat it, and it's like now they got fire breath or something because it was spicy or something like that. That's just fun stuff. And those are all potions that already exist. Giant strength. It's amazing. So eat some like a prune or something, and it just like gives you giant strength for like you'd never guess it, but like they'll remember that more than a potion of giant strength.
Right. Oh, it's shaped like, this is this you got to eat this apple.
Right.
Yeah. And then or whatever.
Like a golden apple. If you got some Norse themes going on there, but yes, reflavoring stuff. These items are all found in the Dungeon Master's Guide, as well as a lot of other supplementary materials. But you could run an entire campaign just off the stuff in the DMG.
Yep, totally.
What are you doing? We don't have any audio difficulties here, ladies and gentlemen, or you that you're watching right now. I'm talking directly to you. In
the beginning, we had to record certain episodes so many times because there was audio mess ups, and so I actually have a system.
All right.
We'll
hold ourselves accountable with that magic headset you got there. That's gonna make sure we don't screw up.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you know one of the things I like about like some magic items is like it's mundane real world things, like the super glue, the adhesive. It's like that's just super glue, but it's not just super glue. It's far beyond that, but they just got the idea from super glue.
You're thinking of the sovereign glue for anybody who's
Yes, sovereign glue. Yeah, right. But you need a wish spell to undo it.
Yeah, or what was that? Some sort of solvent that can like undo it.
There is. There's there's the antidote to that.
I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head, but yes. Which always fascinated me about that. Not to go off on too many tangents. We're going off a lot of tangents, but like there's not like a lesser one. Like it's always like there's only one magical glue in the entire game, and it will not come undone.
Nope. Yeah.
It's just fascinating to me. There's not like a lesser glue, like anyway. So
you could homebrew one. That's there's literally you could homebrew a lesser glue if you would like.
Magic.
Maybe that breaks at a certain strength level. Like, the DC strength is high.
That'd be a perfect common magic item. Something that's like you have to have a strength DC to pull it off, and it's just like sovereign glue in every way. But it's not. That's not even reflavoring an item. That's just coming up with a new item based on a lesser version of something much better. I did that with the I made a hammer of returning based on the dwarven thrower. Right, it was just a much lesser version of it. Very memorable. Like left in the campaign that I ran one time.
Right. So what I have here is a few guidelines that I saw. One of them is very specific, like down to the decimals, and based off of like when you're leveling up, you should be roughly at this, like you should have this many magic items. Everything is dependent on campaign and everything, but this is a general idea. Right. So basically, for common items, you should be roughly getting one common magic item per player per level. That's what one of these things says. We could go about it however. That could be whatever. That could just be a potion.
You'll find a lot of advice that goes all over the place. My favorite one to go off of is the one that's in Xanathar's guide. So
yes,
I think a lot of those are basing it off of Xanath. They're probably like splicing it down even further. But there's a certain point where you just don't even hand out common magic items anymore by the suggestions of Wizards of the Coast. And a lot of people love common magic items, so they just keep handing them out. But I find that you can get kind of bulked down if you hand out a common magic item every single level to every player on top of whatever else they're going to be getting.
Well, I think, but you flavor that throughout the game, right? So you go, let's say you go the first level and your first 2 or 3 levels, you want to, there's like one magic item, kind of, maybe it's just like kind of potions, but then they hit a shop by level 4, and it's like, whoa, they have some money and they could basically catch up, and it's not like it's specifically handed out like, you reach level 5, here's your uncommon magic item. But just throughout the game, it's dispersed to where by the time you're at level 20, there is, it kind of makes sense. There is a plethora of all different kinds of miscellaneous items between uncommon magic items, which actually, this has one uncommon magic item per party. So for the party, there should be maybe one. So maybe not everybody's going to get all their magical weapons at the exact same level, and then it'll slowly disperse. And eventually having somebody will have like a very rare, and then just in the whole campaign itself, this says to have like one legendary magic item, is in the campaign.
Well, if you're going all the way to level 20, so here's some interesting numbers that I think a lot of people don't do, but Wizards of the Coast intends. And in the original DMG for 5th edition, the Dungeon Master's Guide, there was these treasure rolling charts, and they had a suggestion for, based on like the campaigns you're running. They didn't even outright tell you how many times you were supposed to roll throughout your career in a campaign on each of these tables, and they didn't even tell you why these items were on these tables. It was really just this bizarre mystery that unless you are some math major and you broke down all the numbers, you would have no idea why they picked it this way. And Xanathar's Guide just illuminated this. I hated it what it was before, and I just made it up. Like these ones that you're reading, they're probably from like random guides and stuff. I used to make little charts and stuff like that. They broke it down. Magic items awarded by rarity, and Xanathar's Guide on page 135. And so they have it broken down. I love this way. I
think I have it here.
Yeah, I love this way of doing it. It's very similar to what 4th edition did, which is one of the few things I loved about 4th edition. There's like maybe 4 things I loved about 4th edition, ironically.
Can you say that? I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
And some of those things made it through. This is one of the things that never made it through, and finally they start to hint at it, but kind of like fell short of what 4th edition did, was they literally just lay out in every tier of play, level 1 through 4, that's tier 1. Level 5 through 10, that's tier 2. Level 11 through 16 is tier 3, and level 17 through 20 is tier 4. And so you get a legendary, you should award a legendary magic item in between level 11 and 16. And then when you're 17 plus, probably 3 legendary magic items. Can you imagine if you randomly rolled a legendary magic item and it was like the Sovereign Glue? And it's like you don't get like any of the other cool crap that you could have gotten with like the Holy Avenger or something.
Well, here's the thing, though. You could play that down. Like, I feel like the Sovereign Glue, though, is something that you can just put lower in your campaign.
Oh, I misread this chart. I forgot about this. So they also even break things down, and this was the point of the chart. Minor magic items and major magic items.
I forgot
about that. So, like, a major magic item that's legendary would be like the Holy Avenger. A minor legendary magic item, there's actually only like 4 of them. It's like a Scroll of Wish, or a 9th level spell scroll, or Sovereign Glue, or the thing that does Sovereign Glue. That was like it.
Right.
But you have to, you'll get 7 of things from that. Mostly it'll be spell scrolls and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the numbers, right? You look at that chart yourself. When I DM, especially for a what do you call it, a campaign that I've made, and I'm not going off of like an adventure in a published adventure. This is like my guide to handing out awards. I add stuff on top of it like gold, treasure, gemstones, and I try to balance it out roughly with what I would have rolled in the original charts on the Dungeon Master's Guide. But I pick everything ahead of time based on this, and I develop ways to kind of randomize it. And I find myself getting picky, choosy, and trying to give stuff to people that they want, and then all the cool stuff kind of gets ignored that isn't like optimizing. It's a trap you can fall into.
What? So here's the thing, though. When you talk about challenge ratings to against monsters,
right?
Are they accounting? Doesn't account for magic items?
So you can do it that way too. They both work fine. Let's say you're a party of level 4 adventurers, and right, the DM has said there's this adult red dragon that lives in the mountain that keeps everybody in fear, and he has this idea for you guys going on this like little adventure. You and your plucky little party members to go collect all these things. They're like, no, I have an idea of how to get this dragon's loot right now. And technically, if you could steal a dragon's loot without dying at level like 4 or whatever, that's like an adult red dragon, you deserve the stuff that's in his treasury. That would be so lame if it was all still leveled to you. It would all seem so fake.
Correct.
Like my Elder Scrolls, like where everything like kind of levels up to you and the loot levels up to you based on your level. It's like, oh, okay, this is a game. I'm in a game world. It takes you out of it. No, you go and you steal diamonds, like pieces. Like I haven't looked at it yet, but there's that new Treasury of Dragons book, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons.
Right.
They actually lay out what you'll find in each of their stuff. So that's a perfect example of a great book to use if you're kitting out like a dragon's hoard. That's the word I've been looking for like the past 5 sentences.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that's where you're going. Yeah. Dragon's hoard, Rob. Dragon's hoard.
And you deserve all that. Maybe there's even a Holy Avenger in there. Maybe there's a very rare like a +3, longsword or like some sort of cloak that increases your your attack rolls for
AC,
spells and stuff.
Yeah, or all kinds of stuff. I listen, if that happened and like I'm going through whatever kind of basic campaign book and all of a sudden the guy, the guys go off rail and they're able to, this dragon showed up and they're like, hey, we're going to go and get the horde from them, and I'm like, listen, this is what I think that it should have, and I reward them those things. I'm not going to level up my party. I'm going to look at my party and then level up the encounters. I'm like, all right, guys, you got all that. This is going to be fun. But now, you're at level 4 and you had some magic items, so I've been kind of throwing like challenge rating 6 kind of towards you. I'm going to bump it up now to maybe 8 or 7. Or maybe I'll like even test it by do like a challenge rating 7 combat and go, well, how do they deal with it? Oh, it actually like, this is really good. They annihilated them. Awesome, cool. Now I know my next big bad, I got to add some layer stuff, or they got to be bigger, they got to be stronger, or something, because you don't want to like break the game like that. I feel like that would totally break the game. Like, oh, you went to a dragon horde and you found a bunch of gold and some really well made swords.
But guess who's coming? That would be kind of lame. But it would break the game the other direction if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, they would get out of it. My players would be like, "This is crap."
Well, there's a little something called power creep, and power creep, when in reference to Dungeons and Dragons, comes from one thing. It's this. What we're talking about this episode is handing out magic items as rewards. If you hand out too many of them to them when they don't need them. And I fall in this trap all the time because it's my favorite thing to get players to keep coming back. It's almost like I'm bribing them to keep showing up sometimes. So like, no. If you, there's all this cool stuff. You have no idea what you're gonna miss.
You have this +1 sword, and it does this. Oh,
and then I've given them all this cool stuff, and now they show up for the next mission, and they do something even cooler and kill something even stronger. It's like I can't give them like a necklace that they can sell for 300 gold. That'd be lame. Like I've got to think of another magic item that's
it jumped up too high. I feel like, Rob, let me help you. So you can sit down on my counselor session. Listen, you have this problem, and what you need is something to trigger you the opposite way when you think that way. And what the trigger should be, you want to give them magic items, give them more miscellaneous roleplay items. Because like if because we're thinking combat the whole time with magic items. And maybe that's cool. Maybe they want, but it would create great D&D with roleplay if they use these miscellaneous magic items. Go through the whole list before you start, pumping out like really, really good stuff. Right. If you really wanted to, or wait like every 10 or something. That something's like really like made for battle. But yet whenever they use that really creatively, that's going to create a great table.
Yeah.
So maybe this is my intervention for your wife. Talked to me. She said you've been having this problem, and Rob, you
about D&D, but go on.
you need to give more miscellaneous items, and stop at the +2 swords of flaming and that return to you and never go away.
And I had this idea coming out of previous editions that you're supposed to just keep handing out. All right, they're at this tier. Now they all should have +1 items, +1 armor, +1 weapons, or else they're not balanced with the game. After reading and rereading a lot of stuff before this, like intent of the rules as they had written it, Wizards of the Coast and the original writer, the challenge rating is meant for a party with. This blew my mind, with no magic items. It is up to the DM, even though they have it broken down, how many magic items you're supposed to have, at what tier of play. They don't know how many players are in the party. They don't know how many magic items each player has. It is balanced on the idea that you're none of that. And the DM should be keeping track of, okay, they're getting this much more powerful than their level. The challenge rating needs to be increased even more. And a lot of stuff doesn't quite reflect that when you try to balance the numbers, using the way that they say to do it with a deadly encounter versus... Like, I got players that have survived deadly encounters, and they've got all the magic items they're supposed to have at their level. I don't know. I'm playing them right. Breath weapon recharges all the time. I can't kill them. Can't fucking kill them.
Ancient Red Dragon, I think they were level 20, and I was like, well, I don't want to make a bunch of things to keep track of during this one shot, and I gave them a list of like a 3-2-1 items, 3 common, 3 uncommon, and like 1 rare. And I don't know how it worked. They could trade those out for the one shot to like, oh, can I just get rid of like my uncommon and like 2 of my commons and get like a legendary? I was like, sure, whatever, let's play. And that's what happened. My dragon never got its breath weapon back, which I hit for 90 hit points the very first time when I did it, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. Never got it back. They had their weapons, they had their magic stuff happening, and it was. And you
get the same amount of loot no matter what, because that was all part of the same probability, whether he got his recharge back or not of his breath weapon.
Yeah.
It's the same monster, had the same probability of killing them. The odds were against them. It's as if the odds were in your favor in real life. You got to do something that you had no idea you were going to do. You still get the same reward.
Well, the thing is, I think the Ancient Red Dragon, CR 23?
I think it's very high. I think it was 23, 24, something like that.
Maybe even 24. They were level 20, and there was only 3 of them. But with those magic items and strategy too. I mean, again, you also play in the idea, like, we don't need to talk, we could talk about CR ratings on another thing, but the strategy of who they were able to build with multi-classing a few different things, because they were immediately jumping to level 20, they pretty much just looked up, how do I just make a really big, high damage dealing thing? And, it was still tons of fun. But that's one of the things that I want to talk about actually really quick was bringing in a new player, i.e. you, that you were brought in a year ago in our campaign. You weren't given any magic items.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though there's something there that you should have maybe talked to the DM or asked about that, or seen if there was something there?
So I was told to make my character, we were like level 6, 5 at a time, something like that, and he said I could make my character, and he can start with either a really interesting or useful item or a common magic item, and I gotta run it by him and he'll agree to it or not. And I picked a silver longsword because it went with my character's backstory, and he's like, oh, you're in Barovia, this is perfect, what a useful item to have that's not even magical. Sure. And I like the challenge of, like, I like it when a lot of people don't like that kind of challenge. They're like, I'm underpowered, I am behind everybody, they're thinking of optimization. It's not even because they're like a power gamer, but very understandably, because they like their character, and they don't want their character to be pathetic and a loser because they only show up to this game once every week or every other week or once a month, depending on your play schedule. And
they want to contribute in comparison to the other players.
They just want to be cool. That's what it all comes down to. And when everyone else has magic items but you don't feel cool unless you can make up for it in a major way with something else that you have to bring to the table, whether it's skills or perhaps some in-game thing. Like my character, when he came back later on in the campaign, when I was able to finally join regularly, he was able to lead everybody into the city of Vallaki, and because he was actually had enlisted with the guards there. It was something he could contribute a little bit to the party that made him not just some background character that said, "Hey guys, can I tag along too?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be lame.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's really working. It's working out where it's like it's tense, and you're like, man, he's our frontline guy. He's not hitting like hard, or maybe he is, or maybe he isn't. We don't know, because it's Silvered, and it's like it's not specifically magic. And I definitely know with
werewolves
vampires.
that works. Vampires, I think sometimes, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah,
depends if the DM wants to reflavor it that way or not.
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe it's just resistance instead of immune. I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from. So that means I'm getting tired. So we should probably end. Yeah. You got anything else?
Oh man, like we could make a sequel to this later. Like I got offers, offers of advice for like how I won't even go into it. I got ideas. We can make this into an hour-long video.
We could
this is the perfect place to stop.
I mean, guys, let us know if you want us to talk about like a magic shop. What does that look like?
Yeah, next time.
Just creating a magic shop. What do you guys want to hear about magic items? Because we'll create it and we'll banter back and forth about it and like tell you our experiences and all these kind of things. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. Rob, this was fun.
It was fun.
All right. See you guys in the next one.